2024 was certainly a hit or miss year for Destiny 2. On one side, we had the culmination of 10 years worth of storytelling, gameplay, memories, and loot play out in the Final Shape expansion and the excellent Into the Light lead up. But on the other hand, we had mass layoffs, buggy launches, and lack of direction for the franchise, and the possibility of Destiny 3 anytime soon in tatters. This led to many players leaving the game after the Final Shape, understandably so, but due to it feeling like a good end point for their years of dedicated playing. And I was one of them for a period of time, but I'm still kind of playing the game at the moment. Those that are left are holding on to some hope of a prosperous future, but it's still up in the air and not looking rather great. After reflecting on my own feelings on the game and talking to others over the last few months and the general community sentiment, I wanted to make a video and talk about how it feels to play Destiny 2 in 2025. Disclaimer before we start, a lot of this is unscripted apart from some of the notes that I have, so these incoherent ramblings may not make full sense. But I do want to share that if you are new to my channel, I thought I'd give you my credentials first so you know that I'm not just talking out of my ass. Well, at least that's up for you to decide. Number one, I have over 5,000 hours on Destiny 2 itself and have explored all aspects of the game, from hardcore PvE modes such as contest mode raids and dungeons to low man challenges, and I've dabbled in the PvP endgame as well. Number two, prior to a refocus of my channel, I was a primary creator for the game. Guides, updates, Sherpering activities on stream, and general discussions around Destiny 2. But ultimately, I became burnt out on that type of content, so it's why I changed a lot of stuff that I've seen on my channel. But also that leads to burnout on the game, which is why I've not been having as much fun, and since I've stepped away from that type of content, I have a bit more of a realistic look at the game from a gamer perspective rather than a creator perspective. Number three, in the past 2 years, I have slowly slipped from a hardcore into like a middle hardcore / casual type player. Despite how many hours that I have on the game, I feel like I have enough experience to talk about both areas of the game in that capacity from a casual and a hardcore perspective. Whether you agree or not, that's up for you to decide. I also think it's important to note, before you start getting down there in the comments and telling me why D2 is bad or why Bungie sucks, I am no stranger to the failings of Bungie and various states the game has been in. It's had some highs and it's had some incredible lows. So instead of doing that, tell me why you love playing Destiny instead and your favorite aspect of the game, because that would be a far better use of your time, and let's be a little bit more positive than just being a negative dump on the game itself. With that out of the way, I think it's important to talk about a few different areas of the game in more of a positive aspect and a negative one to kind of truly get how I feel about the game currently. So let's start with the most important thing, which is gameplay. Regardless of the game's state, whether it's good or bad, the first thing I think about whenever I come back to Destiny and why I keep coming back is how incredibly good the core gameplay just feels. Joy is a thing that I use a lot when I describe things that I like. I like fun, I like tightness in my controls and how things play. I like my variety in things that I can do in the game. I like busted stuff, and the list of words that I could keep going on about here kind of goes into how I feel about playing the game. Hundreds of weapons, over 100 exotic weapons that have crazy effects, 3 classes with 5 subclasses, and 1 mashed together with them all being prismatic. Exotic armor that enhances these abilities as well, and I never question myself whenever it comes to messing around in Destiny's sandbox, because honestly, I don't know how Bungie have managed to make it still feel so good to me after playing the game for over 5,000 hours, for playing it all the way back since Destiny 1. Being able to make a build and focus on one aspect and one thing that I want to do, or even just getting it ready to churn out DPS, would always be the most fun aspect for me in the game. It's what I built a lot of my channel around, and it's what I still do today. I hold the opinion that Destiny 2's gunplay is still one of the best on the market, and I think Bungie has it almost perfect. It's a blend of casual style shooting, but not just overly reliant on aim. But if you do want to get good at the game's shooting, it feels good. The bullet magnetism definitely plays into this, and just shooting the things in the game is good. That's just as layman terms as it can be. I could talk in great lengths about the power fantasy in Destiny and why it is so unique, and that is never changed. It just feels unique even in 2025. Balance changes, a new exotic, an aspect change, or a new gun added to the game, and it will change how you play the game each season. So even that if it does feel a bit tired in other areas of the game, it's still fun to mess around with the toys every so often. Whilst this aspect of the game has been improved and progressed over the course of Destiny's life cycle, a lot of things haven't in the game, which has led to lack of innovation and honestly a lot of tiredness in what the game is offering. The easiest thing to say about Destiny for more long-time players is that they all have franchise fatigue. I have it. Hundreds and hours put in, loot chases, boss killed. At some point, the game will become tiring. No matter how good it is, you're just not designed to play something for that long and enjoy it for that long. But then there's also lacking in innovation in key areas. Take, for example, seasons, which were the mainstay for a very long time. They basically just repackaged them as episodes, and they're not really that much different. After your 22nd activity of however many years, they start to feel repeated, dated, and unappealing, regardless of what they try to do to mix things up. Because of this, those sparkly new games that are coming out and have all the cool things in are going to pull people away naturally, and over time you will lose players if you're not innovating and keeping your players engaged. Bungie has become formulaic, which has led to the decline of fun, the decline of players in the last year specifically, among other reasons, and it's all just a bit tired. It gets worse when the innovation and change that many players want is coming after the definitive endpoint for a lot of the player base. So it feels very much like too little too late, as this should have been done years ago. Areas of the game have been neglected for far too long. PvP, the end game, certain loot structures, how we get loot and what we're going to be doing, certain systems like armor in the game. There's a lot of things that could be improved, and they're improving them literally after everybody's left. So it just feels frustrating. I also think that the age of the game comes into play here. With the game being 7 or 8 years old, it's very hard to innovate on that without trying to do something completely new. And by all means, this isn't a defense for Bungie, but I would hazard a guess with my very little game knowledge, or game development knowledge I should say, that there is a large amount of tech debt at this point with Destiny. Old code that's been a shortcut to get things to work, things that are now working, and then other things that are breaking because the new things are working, new systems on top of old systems. After 7, nearly 8 years, I think it's going to be having an effect. But how does this all make me feel? Honestly, tired and fatigued. Because I know when Bungie nails content, it's some of the most peak moments I've had in gaming. By peak, I mean raid and dungeon content, and sometimes the occasional seasonal activity. In the game currently, there are 10 dungeons or so and 9 raids, with a few others locked behind the content vault. And after completing my contest clear this past weekend for the latest dungeon that released, it always feels amazing to come away satisfied. They're a perfect blend of mechanics, bosses, puzzles that are funneled into a first-person shooter. There really isn't anything else out there like it. And believe me, I've looked. There is a lot of third-person games that have similar experiences, but they don't do it the way Bungie does. I've seen MMO raids. I've seen raids in some other games as well that just, it doesn't pull me in. But Destiny does. They're always fun, challenging, and offer some of the best loot in the game. And it's one aspect of the game I will always push people to do because they are truly remarkable. Dungeons and raids are one of the main reasons hardcore players stick around to this day, for that new release of one where it's a little mini Christmas. The community gets to figure out what's going on. There's a race, and then whoever wins it wins a belt. There's a trophy, and then on top of that, if you go into this contest mode and complete it, you get the achievement and satisfaction of beating one of the best pieces of content and the hardest pieces of content in the game, which I did this past weekend. Good me. Seasonal activities can also pop off as well, and have done multiple times throughout Destiny's history. The Coil was a great activity, Menagerie, Override, the Sundial, and more recently with Into the Light, Onslaught. Even some of the exotic missions are pretty cool and have been a mainstay in the game for a long while. They have generally a 3-month lifespan or so, and that shows because Onslaught was brought back last season and it really wasn't the same. It just felt tired and boring. It's also crazy to me that Bungie, when the chips are down, they turn up and deliver something that is just 10 out of 10. And it was really solidified for me in the final shape with the Salvation's Edge raid. It was amazing. You fight the big bad of the series that we've been going towards for 10 years, and it truly lived up to the hype that everyone was expecting, and it's fantastic. But there's always a but. These activities are not always played by everyone, and there's a shocking amount of players that have never experienced a dungeon or even a single raid. Which brings up the topic of the hardcore versus casual debate quite often, and in the Destiny space, it's always a hot topic. Some players think that the game has been more watered down, other players think that the game should be more casualified. There's just a massive battle all the time, and it's kind of led to a divide at points. Rather than speaking for others, I'll speak for myself, because I've played the game at a hardcore level for many years, and I've slowly drifted into limiting my time, and I've been a little bit more casual, so my outlook is in both camps. So I'll say this: Destiny is a game that has a ceiling for challenge and difficulty. It's usually then enhanced by making the game harder via doing low man challenges and things that basically handicap yourself in the game, which is more player motivated than the actual game itself. The best times for when you want to play this content are when raids and dungeons are, because they're released. We have a contest mode which blend into getting your ass kicked, but also elation when finishing. But that is the pinnacle, in my opinion. Sure, you can put a whole bunch of modifiers on a normal activity and make it challenging, but it's artificially made hard. And for myself, I will always dive headfirst into this harder content. And what I want as a hardcore player was more long-term goals and rewards for my time. Not just the loot, but something that really makes me stand out. And sadly, it's just an emblem for completing that activity. It's cosmetic, but something on our character, something that truly we can show off. And when someone sees us in the tower or in the social space that you have, just goes, oh my God, that guy did this thing. And a lot of times, like, oh, that guy's a sweat from a lot of different people, but it's nice to have that thing to gloat about. But I do think that Bungie needs to find a middle ground to get players into activities and into this more challenging content. The very real reality is that many casual players don't have the time to commit to this, but also trying to find 5 friends as you get older and have them readily available to raid, or even 3 or 2 friends, I should say, to play the dungeons is incredibly hard. I know, I've been in that situation. Destiny is at its best when you are in a group, and it's why Bungie has done more to cater to more solo-friendly things over the last couple of seasons or so. And I could go into great lengths about the hardcore versus casual takes, but all I really want is more people playing Destiny, regardless of if they're hardcore or casual. I want to find that happy medium that appeases both, but I'm not a developer, and that's on Bungie. But I want people experiencing this game more. I used to Sherpa a lot, and I still take friends through right now whenever there's a new dungeon and raids, because it's enjoyable to see their reactions and how they react to that content. And this leads us to my final 3 points of the video. Why do I still keep playing? Is Destiny 2 good or bad? And what is the future looking like? I stay up to date with Destiny because there really isn't anything else out there that has sucked me in. I've tried many other live service games, and frankly, they just don't have the gameplay and unique activities that really make me want to commit to it long term and move away from another game. At most, it'll be a good 30 to 60 hours. I'll check out the end game, maybe I'll hit 100 hours, but that's all I'll really get to. I want to try more to see if something hits, and Monster Hunter is definitely on the horizon, so maybe I'll try that. I don't really know. I continue to play Destiny because it's one of my favorite games ever. The story and the lore that goes behind all of that story, gameplay, and the unexpected thing that I think a lot of people miss, especially when talking about their favorite games, is the amount of friends they've made through the game itself. Many of the friends I've made through content creation on Destiny, through Sherpering, through just playing the game and LFGing and meeting people, have been long-time friends that I have in my own life right now. I've met them in real life as well. It's easy to say just quit Destiny and move on to something else, or just leave the game for a little while, but there's a lot of people that play Destiny because their friends play it and they don't want to move on because they feel like they might lose that connection or lose that friend. Sure, the sign of a good friend is that you'll just do anything together regardless of the game, but you may not enjoy the same things as your friend, and Destiny may be the only thing that you have in common, and you don't really want to lose that. I've experienced this myself over the last couple of years, and I see it missed in conversations around the game. It's not just simple as, oh, just stop playing then if you're not enjoying it. It's a little bit deeper than that. Which also leads us to, is the game good or bad right now? The new season has some bright sparks, and I'm pretty much enjoying it at the moment, but the game has always had good moments and bad moments, in the ups and the downs. Right now, we are in the after endgame moment, where you've just had that endgame movie, the monumental high, which has then led to an agonizing low, especially for Destiny. Layoffs at the studio. The future of the franchise at one point was up in the air. No Destiny 3 in the works currently. It was hard to feel hopeful around November, December time of 2024. Cut to now, we do have information on the next expansion and what the content plans are from Bungie, and hopefully it's going to be pointing towards the next big bad. But I would say I have the feeling of cautious optimism and always have a hope that Destiny will get back to that peak, but I don't really know if it ever will again. Maybe we'll get a full fresh start with Destiny 3 and loads of people will come back to the game and jump in, and I don't know when or if that could be a possibility. So for now, I'm going to grab my favorite guns, go farm some loot, and just enjoy Destiny for what it is. One of my favorite games. Thank you very much for watching this video. If it has resonated with you in some way, please leave a like on it and comment down in the comment section, and subscribe to the channel to see more content from me, video essays, reviews, and things like that. This has been It's Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.